And welcome to Networking Unleashed, Building Profitable Connections. Welcome to the show, folks. I'm your host, Michael Forman, and you're listening to the podcast where networking is more than just awkward handshakes and bad coffee. It's an art and a talent. But here's the twist, it's an art and talent you can actually learn. Yes, even if you're the person hiding in the corner at every event pretending to check emails, this is for you. Networking isn't just a nice skill to have, it's a game changer. And when you get good at it, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. More connections, more opportunities, more profits. It's like unlocking a cheat code for life. So whether
Mhm.
you're the life of the party or the let me just stay in the corner and text type, we've got something for you. Stick around. Let's turn those awkward small talk moments into big wins. Now, I've got a guest today, and his name is Dr. Richard Kaye. He's got an extraordinary background, a load of experience. He's best known for working with entrepreneurs that help them accelerate the growth of their businesses. And for nearly 24 years, he's assisted people to improve their bottom line. Now, there's a whole lot more to this, but let him introduce himself. Richard, should I call you Richard or Dr. Ken?
Please do. Richard. Richard works great. I had my patients call me Richard. You can call me Richard.
Okay, Richard. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I started out as an electronics engineer, decided that that wasn't my life path. Got a BS degree in business management from New York University, the Long Island Long Island campus. And that's just what that is. That was just BS. And then I got a doctorate degree from the Columbia Institute of Chiropractic. And I practiced chiropractic in San Diego for 30 years, Michael. And because we're talking about networking, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you a foundation on growing a business with networking. And I shut my practice 20 years ago. I was meditating, quite frankly, and heard, shut your practice and work with entrepreneurs. And I looked around, there was no one there but me. So I now live in Taos, New Mexico. I already had 80 acres out here. I left San Diego and 20 years ago started serving entrepreneurs. So that's a quick background, Michael.
Okay, what do you do on the 80 acres?
I sold it.
You did. Okay.
my, yeah, my then wife and I were going to move out, be off grid, and got a job as the assistant district attorney. She's obviously an attorney. They said, be here in 2 weeks. So we just moved out, bought a house, lasted 2 years, then the divorce, and now I'm married to the right woman.
Okay.
So that's what I did on 80 acres.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it takes to find the right person. I found the right person 37 years ago, and
You're awesome.
I've been happy ever since. Let's
Well,
just
good for you.
let's bring this into the networking world a little bit. Um, how do you approach building genuine connections in a world that's increasingly digital?
Be authentic. The best way to build great relationship is be authentic. And I said I'm going to tie the networking and that kind of authenticity into how I built a practice. When I moved to San Diego from New York, Michael, there were 300 chiropractors in town. Ladies and gentlemen, how do you start or grow any business in a crowded field? And no matter what we do, we are all in crowded fields. Well, I networked, I met people, I went out, I schmoozed, I played around with people and connected. And I submitted an article which was published in the San Diego Tribune. Then I found a connection to the Los Angeles Times and I got an article submitted, all because of networking and the people I knew. And I'm going to make that a distinction. It's not who you know. Michael, you've heard of it's not what you know, it's who you know. You know that expression, right?
Of course.
I'm going to take it to a higher level. It's who knows you. That's what networking is about. One day I get a phone call and she says she's the producer of the ABC News in San Diego. And she said, "Who are you? We're seeing your name. We're hearing your name." We didn't know one another personally, but through the network, she had seen and heard of me. Well, now I got a 6:30 news segment. Then I got a similar phone call from PBS. Similar kind of question. Who are you? She had known about me. Well, now I got a PBS segment. And that's what we do in our business now. Make the connections, do the networking that you may not have, that we have with our connections to get you outstanding publicity. The power of networking is so remarkable.
It is. It's great. And really, what you're talking about is branding. You're branding yourself because the more your name gets out there, the more people see you. The more people see you, the better chance you have of getting noticed. So
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
it's true. And my whole career in speaking, I try to tell everybody the authenticity is so important. For you to be yourself is so important. You know, during one of my speeches, I say inject a little humor and do a little story. But if you're not a funny person, don't do it. Be authentic, be yourself. And it goes such a long way. Okay, so can you share a specific example of how strategic networking significantly impacted your business?
I'm laughing because I thought you were going to ask how it impacted my life. And I'll answer that. And then we'll get to the business because they're so intertwined, Michael. I was facilitating a breakout room in a networking event. And a young lady is on that call. I found out she's living in the Cotswolds in the UK, United Kingdom. And we're just networking. I'm mentoring and coaching to a whole group of people. And she asked some questions. And then she made an appointment for a 15-minute phone call. Probably Skype way back then. And that transformed not only her business and my business, but our lives. We wound up getting married. She ultimately moved here to the United States. And it was the networking that changed our lives. Now, to make it specific to the business, Angela writes fairy tales. Her mission is to help kids thrive. Michael, when kids fall in love with themselves, and when adults fall in love with themselves, they don't go out and shoot up schools and shit like that, and they don't commit suicide. She had gone through a couple of different publishers, and they got very few sales basically in her book. Through our company, we got her the publicity because of the networking of the people who know us. And she's now a number 1 best-selling author. She has got 3 books that have all won about a dozen awards each. And in her space, it's Mom's Choice Award is one of the top awards for kids' books. So the networking helped Angela. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have kids, Angela Lee, AngelaLeGH.com. Go buy the books on Amazon. They are absolutely amazing. And how did we get there? We know people and they know us. And she knew me, so it made it easy.
Well, you know people, and when you're networking, you're not only talking with those people, but you're speaking with their network as well,
Their network. Yes,
because they
correct.
may speak about you, and they'll say, "Well, who is he?" Well, you have to know him. Go to the website, give him a call, something like that, and then all of a sudden you're finding out that you're getting all these connections, and you didn't even know him. So that's the
Yeah.
importance of networking. Um,
Yeah, I like what you said. You're not just networking with one person, you're networking with their network.
exactly.
That's very really good. Thank you.
So, what are the key elements of effective communication in your professional networking?
Be authentic. You mentioned it before. Be absolutely authentic. Most of you know, or at least know of Tony Robbins,
Sure.
and he makes a very profound, well, a lot of profound things. He says, if I meet you in person, And when we met, we were at his place in Fiji a long, long time ago. He's the same person in person as he is on stage. And he's really clear. He says, why? Because, Michael, if I become a different persona for you than everybody else, when I run back into you in the airport or something, I've got to remember, who was I with Michael? So if you are your true, authentic self 100% of the time, you don't have to worry about someone seeing, oh, this is a different side of them. Hey, if you're nasty, you're going to be nasty. If you're nice, you're going to be nice. Show up in your authenticity, whatever it is. And that's where you connect on more than on a person to person level, on a soul to soul level. Soul knows people. That's how my wife and I got married. And obviously, you're together for 30, almost 40 years. That's not a physical, that's a soul connection. The soul knows. So be authentic on every part of your being.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on every level, on every level. Let me ask you a question. I'm sure you've made mistakes in your networking, communication, in life, but what were the big mistakes and how did you overcome them?
Boy, if you don't make mistake, are you still alive?
True.
Making a mistake is easy. I mean, I was on a Zoom call with someone just a few minutes ago, and I had the wrong person in mind. And I said, well, I sent this email to this address. And she said, well, that's not me. Oh, shoot. So, we laughed, and I found, because her name, and ladies and gentlemen, communication, her name on the Zoom was the name of her business. She didn't have her, excuse me, she did not have her name there. So I'm going to get some water. Hang in. So it was easy for me to screw it up and get the wrong person. So what do? Own it. We laughed about it. And that's one of the best ways to make up for a screw up. Don't ignore it. Be honest. Say, hey, I messed up. Too many people won't take responsibility for their actions. They'll take responsibility for the good, but they don't take responsibility for the bad. Take total responsibility. And it's when I'm in communication with someone and I don't understand someone, I'm going to use me as the metaphor here, but I'm going to turn it around. How many times, and I just had this communication with another person this morning, I said, what part of this am I missing? Take responsibility. I screwed something up. And instead of blaming the other person, take responsibility for it. As a matter of fact, it was the person who I screwed up with the name. She said, let's get on Zoom. She sent me a text. We got on Zoom. My text to her is, what am I missing here? So clear communication. Take responsibility for everything in your life, by the way. It ain't the other person's fault. If you are having an argument with someone, there's no need for arguments. Own your part in it. You've got a part in it because the two of you are going at it. Michael, you're in a relationship for almost 40 years. If you're like a real human being, there are times you may have a different part of energy than your wife. And I know I've certainly been there. Say, honey, what am I missing here? What didn't I hear? If she yells from the other room, I can say, you got to yell louder. Well, that makes someone wrong. Honey, I can't hear you. It's so simple, Michael. And I realize I'm just going on about this. The bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, take responsibility for everything. It doesn't mean you're wrong. Just take responsibility for it.
That's
Like in a relationship, would you
so
rather be
true.
right, or yeah,
It,
would
it,
you rather be right, or would you rather have the relationship?
you're right.
So,
You're right. But that is so difficult for some people to do, to own the mistake. And, when I'm up on a stage and I usually inject humor or whatever else, and if the joke
mhm.
falls flat and it's
Hmm.
death science, which is deadly for a speaker, but, I'm
Yes.
like, and what I did last time, because I've done it so many times before, I've taken a microscope and I'm saying, okay, well, that joke didn't work. So next time, and I made it self-deprecating. and people laughed about
Yes.
that, and we moved on. But the whole idea was that I took the ownership of that mistake, and I didn't blame anybody else. I didn't blame the equipment, but it was all just me. But that's very good. Take ownership. Okay, so let me
And what you
go
said
ahead.
is people blame, hey, it's a dumb audience. No, it's not. It's we who are the speakers who screwed up. We misread the audience or whatever it is. So I honor you for that. And then you get the audience involved. And as a speaker, you know that. Get the audience involved.
Absolutely.
So
It's that interaction. Okay, so let's say, uh, let me ask you a question. What role does the follow-up in a follow-up what does the role of follow-up have to do with when you meet somebody, and how are you following up with them?
mhm. There's a classic expression in business: the business is in the follow up, the money's in the follow up. We, as human beings, have remarkably short attention spans.
It's
As a matter of
true.
fact, I'm sure you've heard they say a goldfish has a longer attention span than a human being, which is about 7 seconds. We forget things. We're human. I don't care how perfect your memory is. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to forget things. There's a distinction between following up and being a pain in the butt, by the way. One of the things I teach people, they learn how to make the connection, how to get on radio, is be a guest on terrestrial radio, be a talk show guest, how to pitch the guest, excuse me, and how not to be a pain, and then how to get invited back. A first connection is it's sometimes not even a handshake. It's hi. It's do we have anything in common? And from a business perspective, you want to go from a suspect. In my world, everyone's a suspect. Now, what does that mean? I deal with publicity. Our company gets people featured in big city media. We get them interviews. We get them on stages. Every entrepreneur needs that. So when I meet an entrepreneur, I'm going to say, well, is this person a candidate? Then they become a prospect if they say, yes, I'm interested. Now, the next part is the follow up. We get on a phone, we get on Zoom, we do email, we do text. That's the follow up. Otherwise, it's a nice conversation. And I'm not saying you do this with everyone, you do this with people who you have a connection with. Then your job is to turn them into a client. And the next part, Michael, is to turn them into raving fans. Excuse me. So they go out and they tell everyone about you. The follow up, I mean, and today it's so invasive. You get off the phone with any high tech business. I mean, I was just on the phone with my doctor's office. I get a text. How was the service? It's like it's a pain at this point on personal interactions. Always follow up. And I'm going to be very transparent, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just checking to make sure I have it, Michael. As a guest on your program, Michael's going to get a thank you email from me for the opportunity to be here. I'm not looking for his business. He's giving me the opportunity to serve him and you as the followers. How cool is it to send a thank you? When was the last time you sent a thank you? Even a physical card, an email, a text. Acknowledge people. And don't do it from a business perspective. Don't give them your elevator pitch, which most people don't know how to do that anyway. So, Michael, you're going to look forward to it after this. It's just going to say thanks.
Well,
So
you're
that's follow up.
what you say about follow-up is what I've been doing for about 10 years. Okay?
Wow.
After I send the initial email, thank you, I have in my briefcase a stack of thank you notes, and I handwrite
Wow.
a thank you note. Your name and address goes on it, a business card goes in it, but all I did was thank you for your time and your effort. I hope to do business with you soon. I write a thank you. Nobody writes a handwritten thank you anymore. It's like a lost art.
Hmm.
But that's one of the things that I'm trying to bring back. So,
Good for you.
within networking, there's a mantra. There's a know you, like you, trust you, they'll do business with you. And Trust is a crucial part of networking. How do you establish and maintain that level of trust with fellow professionals and clients?
You maintain a level of trust. I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier, is by being authentic. Don't exaggerate. Demonstrate. How can you demonstrate? Today it's easy. Testimonials, videos, proof. It's so easy to get video testimonials. And again, it's so pervasive. I got off the phone with some software company and I got a survey, on a scale of 0 to 10. And I want to say the service was great, but the follow up sucks because it's automatic. It's not authentic. Be authentic with people. You notice there's an underlying theme here. Be authentic with yourself. Doesn't make a difference if you're an introvert, an extrovert. If you're doing business, and by the way, it's the same thing in your personal life. Be authentic and follow up. Demonstrate what you can do. Now, in our business, we laugh. We have a problem. We always over under promise, but then we over deliver. Now, why do we do that? It's not a business gamble. It's, I want to make, Michael, if you were to engage us, and this happened with a high school colleague of mine, she reached out and said, can you get an article in a newspaper? And conversation, of course, we signed the contract, and I promised her I'd get her in at least one newspaper. What's it like to be featured in a big city newspaper? That builds your leverage, that builds your credibility. I wound up pitching it and getting it into 3 different newspapers. Now, what would have happened if I promised her 3 and I only got 1? So, under promise and over deliver, and be so real. That's what that's about.
Sounds like a good rule to have. Okay, so let's circle this back. Let's close this out. Give me your favorite marketing tactic.
Boy, I don't know if I have a favorite because I'm on networking events. I'm all over the place. I'm visible. And okay, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, instead of pitching and selling, attract and enroll. I'm going to say that again. Instead of pitching and then begging and asking for the sale, and we've all had salespeople like that. They're in scarcity. I need to close this deal. They may not say those words, but you can feel that energetics. Just let people know what you do, and then let them come to you and enroll them in your process. It's their decision. Let it be their decision. Don't force anything on them. So
People
that's my best market. Attract and enroll.
people love to buy. They hate to be sold to.
Absolutely correct.
And that
So let them buy.
you have to have that in the back of your mind. Okay, so give me one takeaway that my audience could utilize tomorrow.
Boy, I'm going to give you the same thing I've said. Be authentic. Be who you are. And if you're not who you want to be, then figure out how to be who you put on this planet to be. Connect on a soul to soul level. Be with people. Don't pitch. See, I'm here. I have nothing to sell you. You're not going to get, oh, if you buy my midnight tonight, you're going to get a 12.5%. No, that's selling. What I will give your audience, Michael, and ladies and gentlemen, publicity again is what we do. If you would like to have outstanding publicity and you want to know how to leverage it, doesn't make a difference what you've got. richardkaye.com/leverage. You're going to get, it's about a 5 or 6 minute video, how to leverage. For example, this podcast for me and for Michael can be leveraged so other people say, oh, this is what these guys do. And there's no place on that to buy anything.
That's right. That's right.
Stop selling.
Well,
Stop selling.
Richard, let me ask you a question. If somebody wanted to get hold of you, what's the best way to get hold of you, whether they want to buy your services or just learn about you or whatever, but they want to contact you?
Talkaboutpublicity.com. Talkaboutpublicity.com. No punctuation or one word, which brings up another thing, communication, Michael. Make it easy. Make it easy for people to get in touch with you. If your website has a form, Michael, have you ever filled out a form on a website and then you pray to God that someone's going to get back beyond the autoresponder?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Put a phone number if you're okay with that, but at least an email address or a scheduling thing. Make it easy in the networking, make it easy for people to connect and find and get in touch with you because, Michael, we live in a one click world. What does that mean? Next.
Next, next, and only have a few seconds because whenever you go to
Yeah.
a web page or something, and they have everything to figure out how long somebody was looking at these web pages. If you don't get their attention within the first 2 or 3 seconds, they're on to the next one. So you have to
Yeah.
really think
Yeah.
about that.
And my wife and I have kind of translated, we hardly watch television. I had a picture tube television till about 6 months ago. And we finally said, okay, we'll get one. And we sit down and watch Netflix. And I got this from my son: Dad, if it doesn't captivate you in the first 10, 12 minutes, why? So we go through the listing, we'll pick something. And how many of us have sat through movies that were like really bad? So now, 10, 12 minutes, if it's not grabbing, next. And that's our whole culture, Michael. Our whole society is next. Again, attention span is so freaking short these days.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Richard, I have to tell you, it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you, having you on the podcast, and I hope to speak with you again soon.
Michael, it's my pleasure to serve you. And ladies and gentlemen, talkaboutpublicity.com. If you want to explore how to get you so that people say, I choose you, create top of mind awareness. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Well, that's a wrap, folks. A huge thank you to our special guest for sharing such incredible insights today. And of course, a big shout out to you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in and spending your time with us. Remember, networking isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. So take what you've learned today, get out there, and make some meaningful connections. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little networking inspiration. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or my website, michaelaforman.com. Remember, until next time, keep practicing, keep connecting, and keep building those relationships. This is Michael A. Forman signing off. Take care and happy networking.